Chosen one. Listen carefully. Heaven has interrupted your path for a reason. This moment is not random. It is not an algorithm. And it is not chance. It is a divine appointment written before time began. Right now, something deep inside you knows this is true. A quiet stirring, a pulse of recognition. That is heaven calling your name. You are not like everyone else. You were never made to blend in. The fingerprints of God have been over your story since the beginning, and that's why your journey has felt heavier. Why battles found you, even when you didn't look for them. Look back over your life. Every door slammed in your face. Every season where you felt unseen, none of it was wasted. You were like an arrow hidden in a quiver. The silence wasn't rejection, it was preparation. God was not ignoring you. He was sharpening you for the exact moment you are now entering. Picture this with me. Imagine a seed pressed deep into the soil. To anyone passing by, it looks buried, forgotten, maybe even dead. But beneath the dark earth, life is building. Roots are stretching. Strength is forming. When the season shifts, the seed breaks open, and what once seemed hidden becomes impossible to ignore. That is you right now. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms. Chapter 56, verse 8. You have kept count of all my tossings. You have put my tears into your bottle. Are they not in your book? This is heaven's way of telling you, not a single tear has been lost. Not one prayer has gone unheard. Nothing you endured was in vain. You have wondered, Lord, how much longer? Why does my road feel so heavy? And heaven replies, I have counted every sigh. I have stored every tear. I have recorded every night you lay awake. You are not abandoned. You are remembered. Let me share a story with you. There was a young man who dreamed of helping his community. For years, doors stayed shut. Friends moved on while he stayed behind. Invisible, he started to believe maybe God had forgotten him. But the day came when one open door led to another, and in a moment, everything shifted. Looking back, he realized every closed door had been training him to handle the open ones. He wasn't forgotten. He was chosen for timing bigger than himself. That is the same grace working in you. The pressure you feel isn't proof of abandonment. It's evidence of your calling. Darkness has tried to break you because of what you carry, but you're still standing. You're still here. And you're hearing these words right now because heaven hasn't let go of you. Do not doubt this. The enemy whispers, you're alone. God whispers, you're his. The enemy tries to bury you. God plants you. One tries to suffocate, the other is cultivating. Now, lean in. You are being invited into a deeper alignment with heaven's plan. This is not the time to shrink back. This is not the time to question your worth. This is the moment to rise. If these words hit your spirit, don't let them pass. Mark this moment. Type in the comments, I will rise again. Write it as a declaration, as a prophetic act. When you type it, you're not just leaving a comment, you're making a stand in the unseen. And before we continue this journey, if you haven't already, subscribe, like, and share this message with someone who needs hope today. Not for numbers, but because every share is a seed, and you may be the reason someone else finds their way out of a dark place. You're not here by accident. Heaven has paused everything to speak directly to you. You are a chosen one. You are not abandoned. You are not forgotten. This is your time to rise. Comment your prophetic number right now, 777. You have felt overlooked. But heaven whispers, you are seen. The same God who shaped galaxies has not lost sight of you for a single breath. Your hidden season was not wasted. It was the soil where your roots grew deep, so that your future could stand unshaken. Every chosen one walks through a wilderness before they step into their promise. Joseph endured prison before the palace. Ruth endured loss before redemption. Your story is no different. What felt like delay was actually divine design. The pain that almost broke you is the very proof that purpose burns within you. Stand tall, now. Lift your head. This is not your ending. It is the threshold of your rising. You are chosen. You are appointed. You are stepping into destiny. Chosen one. Marked from the beginning. Your life has never been ordinary. Before you drew your first breath, before your name was spoken on the lips of your parents, heaven already spoke your destiny. You were set apart, written into a divine story that stretches far beyond what you can see right now. That is why you have felt different, why you have often been misunderstood, why you could never quite fit into the molds others tried to place upon you. The Word of God declares in the book of Hosea, chapter 11, verse 1, "When Israel was a child, I loved him, and out of Egypt I called my son." This was not only a statement about Israel's history, but also a reflection of God's pattern. He marks his children with love and calls them out of places of bondage into destiny. And just as he called Israel out, he is calling you out. You are not forgotten, and you are not overlooked. Think of the times you felt the sting of rejection, those moments when people you trusted turned away, when friends could not carry your heart because its depth was too heavy for them, when your voice was silenced, not because it lacked power, but because the world was not ready to hear it yet. Every misunderstanding was shaping you. Every rejection was carving you into someone who would not be swayed by the approval of man. You may not realize this, but rejection has been one of your greatest teachers. It has taught you resilience. It has driven you closer to the presence of God when all other arms let go. It has purified your motives so that when the time comes for your voice to be heard, you will not speak from pride, but from the authority of one who has been crushed and remade. Picture the image of a diamond. It begins as rough carbon, unremarkable, hidden deep in the earth. To become what it was always meant to be, it must endure crushing pressure and intense heat. Without the pain of that process, it would never shine. That is the hidden truth of your life. The pressure you have felt is not meant to destroy you, but to transform you into something radiant that darkness cannot ignore. There is a thread woven through the scriptures God consistently calls the overlooked David, the shepherd boy forgotten in the fields, chosen to be king. Gideon, hiding in fear, called a mighty warrior. Mary, a young girl from Nazareth, entrusted to carry the Messiah. Over and over, heaven reveals its pattern. God marks those the world overlooks, because their strength is not in themselves, but in the one who calls them. Think back on your own life. Perhaps you have felt invisible, standing in the shadows while others were celebrated. Perhaps you have watched opportunities pass by and wondered why your hands stayed empty. Yet, hidden in those seasons, God was preserving you. You were being protected from places that could not hold your anointing. You were being prepared for doors that only obedience could unlock. Do not despise your difference. Do not resent the path that has been harder than most. Your uniqueness is your evidence. You are carrying something others cannot carry. And that is why your journey has demanded more. I recall the story of a young woman who dreamed of leading worship. She was overlooked repeatedly for others with stronger voices and more connections. For years, she sang only in the quiet of her room, wondering if her gift had been wasted. But in her hiddenness, God was teaching her intimacy, building an altar in her heart that fame could not corrupt. When the right time came, God opened a door no man could close, and her voice carried not only melody, but the weight of heaven. You may be living that same hidden chapter, and if so, take comfort. Your silence is not neglect. It is a season of holy cultivation. God's timing is perfect, and He has marked you for something greater than what human recognition can provide. So, when you look at the scars of your past, when you feel the ache of being misunderstood, do not see them as curses. See them as the fingerprints of a God who has been sculpting you for a moment the world has not yet seen. The weight of your story is the evidence that you have been chosen from the beginning. Chosen one. The world may not have recognized you yet, but heaven already has. And in heaven's recognition lies the greatest affirmation you will ever need. Chosen one. Hear this truth. You have not walked through sleepless nights without purpose. Every tear you have shed has been recorded. Every unanswered question has been met with divine silence that was not abandonment, but strategy. You may think you are forgotten, but in reality, heaven has been weaving a design too great for you to see in the moment. The apostle reminds us in his second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 4, verse 17, "For our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all." What you have endured is not meaningless. The weight you feel is producing glory. The trials that threaten to crush you are shaping an eternal strength. Think about this. When a silversmith refines silver, he places it in fire and waits until the impurities rise. The process continues until he sees his reflection clearly in the metal. This is what God has been doing in you. The fire is not to destroy you, but to reveal Him within you. You have faced battles others cannot understand. Nights when sleep escaped you. Days when you smiled outwardly but carried a storm inwardly. And yet, even in those silent wars, your spirit refused to bow to despair. That resilience is the mark of one who is chosen. I remember the story of a young man who carried dreams of ministry but faced rejection at every turn. No church would accept him. No mentor would invest in him. He nearly gave up, until one night in prayer, he heard God whisper, "I am your teacher." That night changed everything. He realized his hidden years were his training ground. When the time came, his voice carried a depth that no classroom could have given him. Your life carries that same rhythm. What felt like delay was equipping. What felt like silence was training. What felt like loss was pruning. Every stage has been orchestrated, not wasted. And this is why I must ask you to mark this moment. Do not just hear, respond. Write in the comments, "I walk forward." These 3 words may seem small, but they are prophetic. They declare that you are refusing to remain stuck in yesterday's pain. They proclaim to heaven and to your own heart that you are moving into destiny, one step at a time. When you type it, you're saying, "I will not retreat. I will not stay still. I will walk forward into what God has spoken over me. Chosen one. Your battles have been intense because your assignment is weighty. The very fact that you are still here proves the enemy failed. What he tried to use to bury you, God is using to build you. The cracks in your life are not shame, they are where his light breaks through. Stand in this reality. You are not fragile. You are fortified. You are not abandoned. You are appointed. You are not a mistake. You are a masterpiece. The weight of your calling is great, but the hand of God on you is greater still. And remember, this journey is only beginning. Heaven has so much more to reveal. You may wonder why the battles have stretched so long, why the weight never seems to lift. But listen carefully. Every season of pressure has been chiseling away at what does not belong, so that the true you can rise. Fire does not weaken gold, it purifies it. In the same way, your trials are removing what cannot carry you into the future. Consider Joseph, thrown into a pit, sold into slavery, and locked in prison. From the outside, it looked like defeat, but every pit, every cell was a stepping stone toward the palace. His brothers thought they silenced him, but God was simply writing a chapter they could not see. Your hidden season has the same signature. It may look like loss, but in God's eyes it is preparation. When you choose to walk forward, you are not walking blindly. You are walking with the one who sees the end from the beginning. He knows the turns ahead, the closed doors, and the open gates. Choosing to move forward means trusting that your story is safe in his hands, even when you cannot predict the next step. And this is why your declaration matters. Saying, "I walk forward," is more than words. It is agreement with heaven. It means you refuse to anchor your heart to yesterday's betrayals, disappointments, or failures. It is a shift from paralysis to progress, from despair to destiny. So, rise with courage. Let this moment be the dividing line between who you were and who you are becoming. The old weight does not define you. The call of God does, and that call is louder, stronger, and unshakable. You are moving forward into the very life you were born to live. Chosen one. Your hidden season has not been without meaning. The delays you've endured, the waiting rooms of your life, the unanswered prayers that seemed to hang in the air, these were not signs of God's absence, but evidence of his protection. What you called delay, heaven called preservation. What you thought was silence, heaven knew was strategy. According to what is revealed in the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 3, "For the vision awaits an appointed time. It speaks of the end and will not prove false. Though it linger, wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay." These ancient words are not a poetic comfort. They are a prophetic law. God's vision does not rush. It arrives in fullness, at the appointed time. Never a moment early, and never a moment late. You know this truth deep inside. Think of the seasons when doors did not open. You pushed. You prayed. You prepared. Yet the door remained shut. You wondered if perhaps you had missed your chance. But now, looking back, can you see how those closed doors preserved you from paths that would have broken you too soon? The wilderness has always been a place of training. Israel wandered 40 years, not because God had abandoned them, but because he was reshaping slaves into sons. The waiting did not destroy them. it redefined them. In the same way, your wilderness has been shaping your identity. It has been stripping away the voices of comparison, so you can hear the single voice that truly matters. Imagine a bow in the hands of an archer. The arrow is pulled back, further and further, until it feels the strain of tension. Yet that tension is not punishment. It is the setup for distance. The further the pull, the farther the flight. That is what your hidden years have been. The tension you felt is the preparation for the trajectory of your destiny. I recall the testimony of a man who dreamed of starting a ministry. For years, he labored in obscurity, serving faithfully in places where no one knew his name. His prayers often ended in silence, but in that silence, God was building discipline, teaching him how to shepherd hearts rather than chase platforms. Years later, when doors finally opened, he was ready not because of sudden opportunity, but because of hidden preparation. You, too, are living this pattern. The closed seasons have been your classrooms. The silence has been your training ground. The unanswered prayers have been invitations to trust, not to despair. When you felt abandoned, you were actually being refined. Do not despise these chapters. Seeds cannot sprout without first being buried. Oil cannot flow without crushing. Wine cannot come without pressing. Every hidden season is a womb where destiny grows. Though it may feel dark, it is not death, it is gestation. And here is the mystery. Heaven often hides its greatest treasures. Moses grew up in obscurity before leading a nation. John the Baptist lived in the desert before preparing the way. Even Jesus spent 30 silent years before 3 years of public ministry. If the Son of God himself endured hidden years, should we be surprised that we must too? Your hiddenness is holy. It has been the shield protecting you from premature exposure. Like fruit on a tree, you could not be picked too early. Had you been thrust forward before the right time, the weight of your assignment would have crushed you. God loved you too much to let that happen. So, instead of seeing the hidden season as punishment, embrace it as preparation. These are the years when you are learning to hear his whisper. These are the years when you are discovering that your identity is not in applause, but in his presence. Chosen one. This is the truth. Delay is not denial. Silence is not absence. Hiddenness is not abandonment. The God who called you is the God who has kept you. At the appointed time, what has been concealed will be revealed. And when it is, you will understand why the waiting was necessary. The season of waiting has been a divine shield around your life. What you thought was wasted time was in truth God's way of aligning you with the moment when his promise would meet your readiness. He has been writing chapters that eyes could not see, preparing you for rooms you have not yet entered. Soon, what has been hidden will not remain hidden. The story you carry will no longer stay in the shadows. The time of unveiling draws near, and when it comes, you will see that the waiting was never empty, it was holy. Chosen one. The light you carry has always been noticed, even before you fully recognized it. Do you know why certain rooms grew heavy when you walked in? Do you understand why conversations shifted when you entered? Because the light within you exposes what darkness tried to hide. You may not always feel it, but your very presence disrupts the atmosphere. This is evidence of your assignment. You carry light that terrifies darkness. The Word of God declares in the Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 5, "The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. That light is not distant, it is within you. You are the carrier of it. No matter how hard the night has pressed against you, the flame still burns, steady and unshakable. Think of a lighthouse on a stormy coast. Waves crash, winds roar, clouds cover the sky. Yet that beam of light pierces through, guiding lost ships safely to shore. That is you. You may feel small, but in the hands of God, you are a lighthouse to others who are wandering. And this is why the weight has felt so strong. The enemy fears what will happen when you realize who you truly are. There is a story I must share. A woman once felt like her life carried no significance. She worked quietly, unnoticed, and struggled to believe she could make a difference. But one day, she chose to serve her community in simple ways, offering meals, sharing hope, listening with love. Soon, people began to say, "Your kindness saved me." She never saw herself as powerful, yet she became a living flame of encouragement. Light does not need to be loud to be effective. It only needs to shine. Chosen one, your light is rising. And just as the lighthouse does not shine for itself, but for those lost at sea, so your calling is not only for you, it is for the many who will find hope because of your courage. This is also where I must open my heart to you. Messages like this, words that reach into homes, souls, and hearts are not powered by algorithms alone. They are built on sacrifice, time, and faith. And just as Paul reminded the church in Philippi, partnership in the gospel allows the light to reach farther than one voice could on its own. If you feel in your heart a desire to support this work, to help keep the flame shining brighter, then you are welcome to sow a seed into this ministry. Think of it not as payment, not as pressure, but as planting. Your giving is like placing a seed into God's invisible garden. That seed may look small, but in time, it will grow into shade for a weary soul, fruit for the hungry, and rest for the broken. Or picture it this way: your generosity is like oil poured into a lamp. Without oil, the flame flickers. With oil, it grows steady and strong, burning across nations, guiding chosen ones who are lost in their night. And hear this clearly: this is never about condition, demand, or force. If you cannot give, you are still loved. If you are not ready, you are still seen. But if you can, your drop of water poured into this river helps it swell, flow stronger, and reach barren lands that are waiting for life. Every drop matters. Every seed multiplies. Every act of generosity becomes a wave of hope that touches more lives than you may ever realize. Beyond giving, there are also simple ways to partner that cost nothing. If this message has spoken to your heart, press subscribe, tap like, and share it. Think of it as dropping a pebble into a still lake. The ripples spread far beyond where it fell. You may never see the shores it reaches, but someone drowning in silence might catch that ripple as their lifeline. I will say it again with clarity: this is never about pressure. It is about partnership. Just as the early believers gathered to support the work of the apostles, so too does your faith. Your actions and your prayers help spread this flame. Chosen one, you are not only a receiver of light, you are a carrier of it. And when you choose to share, support, or partner, you are multiplying the reach of that light. Imagine hundreds of small flames joining together, creating a fire that darkness cannot contain. That is what happens when chosen ones unite. Your calling terrifies darkness because it is unstoppable. And when we walk together, your faith, my words, God's Spirit, the impact multiplies in ways we may never fully measure this side of eternity. Chosen one, lift your head. You are not weak. You are radiant. You are not forgotten. You are entrusted. And as your light rises, it will call others home. Chosen one, you are standing on a fragile edge. The pressure has grown heavier lately, and there have been moments when your heart whispered, I can't hold on much longer. But listen carefully. This is not where you break. This is where you bend like a tree in the wind, only to rise taller when the storm passes. The prophet reminds us in the book of Micah, chapter 7, verse 8, Though I have fallen, I will rise. Though I sit in darkness, the Lord will be my light. These words echo into your soul right now. Falling is not the end. Sitting in darkness is not permanent. The light of the Lord is rising over you. Even in the shadows that tried to smother your hope, you have felt the weight of surrender. There were nights when you questioned whether God truly saw you, whether your prayers were bouncing against the ceiling, and yet, despite those doubts, something inside of you refused to let go. That resilience is proof that His Spirit is still alive in you. Imagine a clay pot in the hands of a potter. It spins. It shakes. It feels the pressure of shaping hands pressing against it. At moments, the clay nearly collapses. But the potter never abandons it. Instead, he reshapes it with patience, molding it into something more beautiful, more useful than before. That is you. You are in the potter's hands. The pressing you feel is not destruction, it is design. There is a story about a man who longed for breakthrough, but found himself in the same cycle for years. Each time he tried to move forward, life seemed to pull him back. Finally, at his lowest point, he whispered a single prayer, God, I will not quit. That moment, heaven moved. Not because the man was strong, but because his surrender allowed God to step in with power. His story is a mirror of yours. Strength is not about never bending, it is about never breaking in surrender. Chosen one. This is your season to remember. You are not alone in this battle. What you feel pressing against you is not only natural struggle but spiritual warfare. The enemy knows that you are close to breakthrough, and he has poured pressure into this moment to make you give up. But the Lord is saying, do not break here. The promise is closer than you think. MC. Think of a woman in labor. The pain intensifies. The closer she gets to delivery, the contractions grow stronger, the groaning louder. But the end result is life itself. That is the pain. You feel it is not the pain of death, but the labor of birth. What you are carrying is about to emerge. It is in this exact moment that your voice matters most. I want you to mark this space with a declaration. Write in the comments, 222. This number carries the prophetic meaning of alignment, balance, and divine agreement. It is the symbol of God bringing order into chaos and confirming that you are walking into His appointed timing. When you type 222, you are saying, I choose to align with heaven's plan. I agree with God's design. I trust that my steps are ordered. Even when I do not see the full picture, Each digit is like a steady footstep left, right, left, walking in rhythm with His Spirit. It means you are not walking in confusion, but in divine order. Chosen one. Remember how far you've already come. You have survived nights that could have crushed you. You've endured battles that others would not have survived. You've walked through valleys and still kept your heart beating with faith. Even if it was faint, that is proof that God has not abandoned you. If He carried you through those nights, why would He leave you now? The enemy wants you to believe you are at the end. But God declares you are at the turning point. The very pressure you feel is confirmation that something new is near. You cannot stop here. You cannot surrender here. You cannot give up here. Lift your eyes. Chosen one, the Lord is your light. Even in this darkness, the foundation beneath you is strong, and your future is unshakable. You will not break. You will rise. Type it now. 222. Let it be your prophetic sign of alignment, agreement, and balance, heaven's way of declaring that your steps are steady, your faith is anchored, and your future is secure in Him. Every time you see 222, let it remind you, heaven is not confused about your path. Your steps are guided, your balance restored, your future already written by God. Chosen one, mercy is still standing over your life. You may feel as though you've missed chances, wasted years, or strayed too far. But grace is not finished with you. The very fact that you are breathing right now, hearing these words, proves that the door has not closed. Mercy has not moved aside. The invitation is still alive. The Spirit spoke through the letter to the Hebrews, chapter 4, verse 16. Let us then approach God's throne of grace with confidence, so that we may receive mercy and find grace to help us in our time of need. Notice the language. It does not say if you will find mercy, but that you will. God's throne is not a place of rejection, but a place of restoration. You have carried the weight of regret. Memories rise up like storms, whispering that you should have chosen differently, spoken differently, walked differently. The voice of shame tells you that you've gone too far. But listen, the blood of Christ has already silenced that voice. The cross did not run out of power. You are not beyond redemption. Picture a courtroom. The accuser stands to bring up every failure, every sin, every wrong decision. But before the verdict is pronounced, Jesus Himself steps forward. His scars are the evidence, His blood the payment, and the case is dismissed. You walk free, not because you are innocent, but because mercy triumphed over judgment. Mercy is not weakness, it is God's strength choosing to embrace you when you least deserve it. Grace is not just forgiveness, it is empowerment. Grace takes you by the hand and lifts you where shame tried to bury you. I remember the story of a man who wasted years in addiction. He thought God had forgotten him, that he was too stained to ever be restored. But one night, sitting on a broken chair in a tiny apartment, he whispered, "Lord, if there's still mercy, show me." That night marked the beginning of his freedom. Slowly, step by step, grace rebuilt what sin had torn apart. Today, he is not only free, but also leading others into the same grace he once doubted. Your story may not be the same, but your Redeemer is. Mercy is still calling your name. Grace is still reaching for you. Chosen one, There is something holy about realizing you do not stand by your own strength. Every time you thought you were finished, it was mercy that lifted you back up. Every time you should have been destroyed, it was grace that shielded you. That is why you are still here. Do not let the enemy trick you into believing that you have no more chances. As long as there is breath in your lungs, there is mercy in your story. The cross is not a chapter, it is the foundation. Think of a river. No matter how many times you step into it, fresh water keeps flowing. You cannot exhaust it. That is what mercy is like. Always moving, always cleansing, always renewing. There is also a mystery in mercy. It not only restores you, but redefines you. Peter denied Jesus 3 times, yet mercy restored him and transformed him into the rock of the early church. Paul persecuted believers, yet grace turned him into an apostle of fire, over and over. Heaven proves that mercy doesn't just forgive mistakes, it builds new missions from them. That same mercy is shaping you. The scars of your past will not disqualify you. They will become testimonies that inspire others. Your failure is not the period at the end of your story. It is a comma that makes way for grace. Chosen one. Hear this. You have not gone too far. You have not run out of chances. You are not beyond the reach of His hand. Mercy is standing at your side, and grace is lifting your head. When you rise tomorrow, do not carry the shame of yesterday. Let mercy write today's chapter. Let grace turn what once felt like an ending into a new beginning. And when doubts whisper again, as they surely will remember this, the throne of God is not guarded by rejection, but open with invitation. You are welcome. You are seen. You are still loved. Mercy still stands. Grace still calls. And your story is still unfolding. Your past does not own you. Grace has rewritten the script. Every stumble becomes a step. Every scar, a story. Every loss, a lesson. Stand tall, for mercy has marked you, and heaven is not finished. Your tomorrow carries a brilliance your yesterday could never cancel. Chosen one. Have you ever wondered why your life has felt like constant battle? Like storms chasing you, even when you did not seek them? It is because there is more happening than what eyes can see. You are not only living in the natural, you are standing on a spiritual battlefield. What seems like chaos around you is in fact the collision of heaven and hell, both contending for the destiny written over you. The voice of God thundered in the book of Joshua, chapter 1, verse 9. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. These words were not given in a moment of ease, but in a moment of war. Joshua was stepping into territory where giants stood. Walls loomed, and enemies surrounded him. Yet heaven's command was not fear, but courage, and that same command rests upon you. You have been walking through battles that others cannot see. Sleepless nights where your thoughts became a war zone. Days when everything seemed normal on the outside, but inside you carried wounds invisible to everyone else. Every whisper of doubt, every dart of fear, every temptation to quit has not been random, it has been warfare. The enemy has marked you because heaven has marked you first. Think of the story of Elisha and his servant. Surrounded by an army, the servant trembled in fear, but Elisha prayed, "Open his eyes, Lord, that he may see." Suddenly, the servant saw hills full of horses and chariots of fire all around them. What looked like defeat was actually a setup for deliverance. That is your reality too. You are not fighting alone. There are angelic armies encamped around you. Your very existence is a threat to darkness. That is why you have faced attacks from childhood. Why rejection followed you. Why betrayal cut so deep. Hell does not waste its weapons on the ordinary. You were targeted because you carry something extraordinary. Picture a soldier in training. The weight he carries on his back is not punishment, but preparation. Every long march, every sleepless drill, every push beyond comfort is building endurance for the real fight. That is what your trials have been. You are not being crushed, you are being conditioned. I recall the story of a woman who thought her struggles meant God had forgotten her. Yet when she looked back, she realized the battles had carved strength into her spirit. She became unshakable, not because life was easy, but because every storm had trained her to stand. What once would have broken her now only bowed before her resilience. Chosen one. That same transformation is happening in you. Your warfare is not proof of weakness, it is proof of worth. The greater the battle, the greater the assignment. But understand this, battles are not meant to be fought in your strength alone. The Lord Himself is your warrior. The scriptures say He is the one who goes before you, the one who fights for you, the one who holds victory in His hands. Your role is not to win in your power, but to stand in His. Think of a shield. It does not stop the arrows from being shot, but it absorbs their impact, so the soldier remains standing. God has been your shield. The arrows have come, yes, but they have not destroyed you. The storms have raged, but you are still here. That is evidence enough that heaven has been fighting on your behalf. And what of the scars? They are not signs of defeat, but medals of survival. Every scar tells a story that you endured, that you overcame, that the enemy tried and failed. Wear them not with shame, but with honor. They are reminders that you stood on the battlefield and did not fall. Chosen one. Your eyes may see chaos, but heaven sees victory. You are not overwhelmed, you are being positioned. You are not abandoned, you are being armed. You are not weak, you are being strengthened. So when you feel surrounded, remember Elisha's servant. Pray, Lord, open my eyes, and you will realize that greater are those with you than those against you. This battlefield is not the end. It is the proving ground for the authority you will walk in. And one day soon, you will look back and understand that the war you fought was the evidence of the crown you were destined to wear. The fire around you has not come to consume, but to forge. Every clash, every wound, every sleepless night is birthing strength. Stand steady. This battlefield is not your grave, it is your garden of victory, where roots of courage grow deep and unshakable within you. Chosen one. Heaven waits for your answer. You may think the greatest battle you face is with the enemy outside, but often the fiercest war is the one inside the decision of your heart. Obedience is not about perfection, but about surrender. It is not about knowing every step, but about saying yes to the one who already sees the road ahead. The ancient words recorded in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 30, verse 19, declare, "This day I call the heavens and the earth as witnesses against you. I set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Choose life." This verse does not whisper, it confronts. It does not offer suggestion, it demands decision. To remain neutral is itself a choice. Every great story in Scripture begins with a yes. Noah said yes to build when rain was unheard of. Abraham said yes to leave everything familiar and walk toward a promise he could not yet see. Mary said yes to carry a miracle the world would not understand. Their obedience unlocked destinies not only for themselves, but for generations after them. And your obedience is no different. Heaven is waiting for your yes. You do not need to understand how everything will unfold. You do not need to see the full picture. You simply need to align your will with His. Imagine a locked door. You stand before it, frustrated because it will not open. But then, with a small key, the door swings wide, revealing what had been hidden all along. Obedience is that key. It does not look powerful in your hand, yet it unlocks dimensions of destiny you could never access otherwise. Perhaps you have hesitated. Perhaps fear of failure or fear of man has kept you silent when you should have spoken, hesitant when you should have moved. But the voice of the Spirit whispers, "Do not delay any longer." Your yes carries more weight than you realize. I recall the story of a young man who resisted God's call to serve. He was talented, but he feared rejection. For years, he ignored the stirring in his heart. Yet the more he resisted, the heavier his spirit became. One day, weary of running, he whispered, "Yes, Lord." That moment changed his life. Doors opened that had been locked for years. His yes became a key not only for himself, but for those around him. Your yes will do the same. It will unlock provision. It will release favor. It will summon the right people into your path. But more than that, it will align your soul with heaven's rhythm. Chosen one. This is your crossroads. You can remain in hesitation, or you can step into obedience. The choice is not complicated, but it is costly. To say yes means to let go of control, to trust a God whose ways are higher. Yet that surrender is not loss. It is the doorway to destiny. Mark this moment now. Do not just listen, respond. Write in the comments, "My spirit agrees." Oh, why this phrase? Because it is more than words. It is a confession that your heart, your will, and your future are no longer at war with God's purpose. It is an act of alignment where your spirit stops wrestling and starts agreeing with heaven. When you declare it, you are saying, "I will no longer resist. I will no longer delay. I am in agreement with what God has spoken over me." It may look simple on the screen, but in the unseen, these three words carry weight. Agreement in the spirit world shifts atmospheres. Agreement is what breaks chains, cancels hesitation, and opens doors that hesitation kept locked. Chosen one. Your obedience will not only shape your story, but will ripple into generations after you. Others will find courage because you said yes. Others will walk in freedom because your spirit agreed with God's call. When you say, "My spirit agrees," you are no longer standing between two paths with divided loyalty. You are stepping with both feet onto the road God prepared, leaving hesitation behind. Agreement is power, because when two walk together, the journey becomes steady. When your spirit walks with His Spirit, strength flows where weakness once reigned. Do not underestimate what this alignment unlocks. The moment you agree, heaven moves differently on your behalf. Peace begins to cover what once felt chaotic. Doors begin to open where you only saw walls. What seemed delayed begins to accelerate. Your declaration is not a small echo, it is a trumpet sound in the unseen, announcing that you are ready for the next chapter. Chosen one. The cross you carry is not a random weight. Every burden you've endured, every trial that has pressed against your shoulders, every moment where you whispered, "Why me?" all of it has been shaping you. You have felt the heaviness of pain, but you have also been entrusted with the promise of glory. The cross and the crown are not separate, they are part of the same story. The ancient words recorded in the book of Romans, chapter 5, verses 3-4 declare, "We glory in our sufferings, because suffering produces perseverance, character, and character, hope." These words remind you that your pain is not wasted. It is forming something within you that could not exist without the fire of trial strength, endurance, and hope that shines like a crown of gold. Think of how wood and gold come together in a crown. Wood is rough, scarred, and carries the marks of its shaping. Gold is refined through fire, shining with brilliance. The crown is not made of ease, but of both elements, the rugged and the radiant. Your story is the same. The rugged pain and the radiant joy will one day form the testimony of your victory. Do you remember Simon of Cyrene? He was called to carry the cross of Jesus, an unexpected burden pressed upon his shoulders. In that moment, he bore something that looked like shame, yet it connected him forever with the story of redemption. That is the hidden truth of your burden. What feels heavy now is the very proof that you are woven into heaven's eternal plan. I recall the story of a woman who endured years of sickness. She thought her suffering was wasted, that her weakness made her useless. But in time, her endurance became her testimony. She began to speak life into others, walking through the same valley. Her crown was not just healing, it was the authority to guide others into hope. Her suffering birthed her ministry. Chosen one. The cross you carry may feel unfair, but it is also sacred. You were not meant to be crushed by it, but to be crowned through it. The crown you are moving toward is not simply for display. It carries authority, weight, and the power to break chains in others. And here, I want to pause and speak gently to you. Words like these, messages that meet you in hidden valleys and remind you of your crown, do not float out of nowhere. They are like torches carried through the dark, held by hands that also pay a cost. This is why I invite you not out of pressure, not as a demand, but as a beautiful act of choice to become part of carrying this torch forward. When you subscribe, when you like, when you share, it is like adding your flame to the fire. Each flame together becomes a bonfire that lights up the night sky for others who are wandering in shadows. And if your heart feels stirred to go further, to help sustain this light, then let me give you another picture. Imagine a river flowing through dry land. Every offering, every act of generosity is like a drop of rain joining that river. Alone, a drop seems small. Together, they swell into a stream that quenches the thirst of thousands. Giving is not a transaction, it is rainfall in a drought. Hear this clearly. No one is compelled. Law never forces. It only invites. Whether you give or not, whether you press a button or not, the word will still come to you. But if you do, know that you are not just helping, you are planting seeds that will bloom in places you may never see with your eyes. Subscribe because you want to walk closer. Like because your heart agrees with the truth. Share because you know someone else is drowning in silence and needs a lifeline. Give if you can, because drops of rain together make rivers that heal barren lands. Your crown and your cross are forever tied together. Every act of endurance, every step of obedience, and every seed of generosity becomes another jewel in the crown you are destined to wear. Chosen one, lift your eyes. Your suffering is not wasted. Your wait is not meaningless. Your crown is being prepared. And one day you will look back and see that the cross was not a curse. It was the pathway to glory. And when that day comes, every tear, every burden, every hidden struggle will shine as part of your crown, proving that nothing was wasted. Your cross always carried hidden glory. Chosen one. Destiny has always been whispering your name. You have caught glimpses of it, small flashes, sudden moments when you felt that life was larger than what you could see, that something inside of you was meant for more. Those glimpses are not imagination. They are heaven's previews of who you are becoming, as was spoken in the sacred texts of old. In the book of Proverbs, chapter 29, verse 18, where there is no vision, the people perish, but he that keeps the law, happy is he. Vision is not luxury, it is lifeblood. Without it, the heart withers. With it, strength rises. You have been given vision, not as fantasy, but as confirmation that you are marked for more. There are moments when destiny feels distant, doesn't it? Times when you think, maybe I misheard. Maybe I am not as chosen as I thought. Yet every chosen one has walked through that valley of doubt. Joseph had a dream of ruling, but then he found himself in a pit, and later, a prison. Moses was called to lead a nation, but he spent 40 years in obscurity, tending sheep. Destiny rarely appears as a straight road. It often looks like detours. But in truth, each detour is a divine direction. Think of it like an artist painting on a massive canvas. From close up, all you see are scattered strokes, colors that seem out of place, shapes that make no sense. Step back, and suddenly you see the masterpiece. That is your life right now. Up close, it may feel confusing, but heaven sees the full picture, and it is glorious. There is a story of a young woman who once felt invisible. She carried big dreams, but no one seemed to notice. She worked faithfully in the background, wondering if her life would ever matter. Years later, she realized that the hidden years had been her training ground. Her quiet faithfulness, her endurance in silence, became the very character that positioned her to step into leadership when the opportunity finally came. She was not overlooked. She was prepared. Chosen one. God has been giving you glimpses of the future you. A leader, a voice that carries weight, a heart that breaks chains. What you have seen in flashes will become reality when the time is right. These glimpses are like windows. God opens them just enough to remind you of where you're going, even if He doesn't reveal the entire map yet. And this is why the resistance in your life has been so intense. The enemy is not attacking who you were. He is terrified of who you are becoming. Every setback, every rejection, every betrayal has been designed to stop you from growing into the vision heaven has shown you. But hear this: He cannot stop what God has already ordained. Imagine a tree in winter. The branches are bare. The ground is cold. And to anyone passing by, it looks dead. But beneath the soil, life is pulsing. Roots are digging deeper. Strength is gathering unseen. When spring comes, that same tree bursts forth with blossoms. That is you, right now. The season may feel barren, but your roots are strengthening for the bloom that is coming. Chosen one. You are becoming someone who will not only walk in freedom, but lead others into it. You are becoming a torchbearer, one whose light is not just for themselves, but for those walking behind. This is why your journey has felt heavier. You are not carrying only your story, but also the hope of many who will be inspired by your rise. Your destiny is not a distant dream. It is already unfolding. Every challenge has been preparation. Every delay has been refinement. Every glimpse you've seen is heaven's way of saying, keep going. You are closer than you think. So lift your head. The vision over your life has not expired. The calling on your soul has not been revoked. What you have seen in pieces will soon be revealed in full. The future you have glimpsed, the unshakable, radiant torch carrying you, is real. And that future is nearer than you think. The vision you carry is not illusion, it is inheritance. Heaven does not tease, heaven reveals. Those flashes of greatness inside you are not accidents. They are divine reminders that your purpose is still alive, still unfolding, still unstoppable. Do not let present shadows make you forget the glimpse of tomorrow's light. What you saw was real, and it will come to pass. The unseen work happening within you is heaven's way of aligning you with what has already been written. The future you is rising, and every step forward is bringing you closer to that unveiling. Chosen one. The heavens are aligning you into a moment of divine order. You may not always see it, but every step you've taken, whether forward, sideways, or even what felt like backward, has been leading you into the pattern of God's perfect plan. The prophet Haggai spoke with fire in the book of Haggai. Chapter 2, verse 9. The glory of this present house will be greater than the glory of the former house, says the Lord Almighty, and in this place I will grant peace. These words remind you that what is coming will not be smaller, but greater. The ending of one season is not loss. It is the threshold into a glory that will outshine the former. Think of a tapestry being woven from underneath. It looks like threads tangled without design, knots, uneven strands, colors crossing in confusion. But from above, the master weaver sees a pattern. Every thread, even the ones that seem out of place, is necessary for the final design. That is your story right now. You may feel like your life is a collection of tangled threads, but heaven sees the masterpiece. You have been asking, Lord, when will the pieces fit? When will the seasons make sense? And the Spirit replies, soon you will see. What you thought were fragments will merge into a vision so complete, it will silence your doubts. Consider Joseph again. He saw glimpses of destiny in dreams, yet walked through betrayal, slavery, and prison. For years, his life seemed like pieces that didn't belong. But when the moment came, every piece aligned. The pit, the prison, the pain, all of it made sense in the palace. What once looked broken became proof of purpose. Your alignment works the same way. Heaven is pulling together every experience, every lesson, every scar, and every triumph to reveal the greater glory to come. What felt wasted will be woven. What felt scattered will be gathered. What felt confusing will be clarified. Chosen one. This is why the pressure around you has grown. The closer the pieces come into alignment, the tighter the pull. It feels uncomfortable because heaven is drawing your life into order. What you are carrying is not chaos, it is construction. Imagine a house being built. During the process, it looks messy, bricks lying around, beams exposed, dust everywhere. To an untrained eye, it looks unfinished. But the builder sees the blueprint. Every nail, every cut, every placement is moving toward completion. That is what God is doing in you. The structure may look incomplete, but the builder knows exactly what he is making. And here, I want to mark this moment with a prophetic sign. Write in the comments, 550. 5. This number carries the meaning of grace multiplied, of divine change, of God shifting you into new alignment. It symbolizes that the old structures are giving way to a greater glory, just as Haggai declared. When you write 555, it is not just digits on a screen, it is your agreement with heaven. It is your way of saying, I welcome divine order. I trust the weaver. I trust the builder. I receive the greater glory. Each number is like a step into agreement, grace upon grace upon grace. Do not underestimate this act. Agreement in the natural shifts things in the spiritual. By declaring 555, you are declaring that your life is not tangled threads or scattered bricks. You are in process. You are in construction. And you are moving toward completion. Chosen one. Your future will not mirror your past. The latter glory will be greater than the former. The next chapter will carry a peace the last could not give. You are not stepping backward. You are stepping deeper into divine alignment. And when the alignment is revealed, you will stand in awe. You will look back and realize that every painful turn was a piece of the pattern. Every loss, a preparation for gain. Every silence, a setup for song. So, do not despise the process. Do not curse the pressure. The weaver is working. The builder is building. The greater glory is coming. Write it now, 555. Let it be your seal of alignment, your declaration of agreement, your prophetic step into the season where heaven's design over your life will finally be unveiled in fullness. When you declare 555, you are not typing a number, you are stepping into a rhythm of grace. It is heaven's way of reminding you that change is not chaos, but order disguised. Every thread, every nail, every brick of your journey is coming into alignment. This is not random, it is divine arrangement, guiding you toward a glory greater than before. Chosen one. The season you are entering requires a mantle you have not worn before. This mantle is boldness, not arrogance, not pride, but holy courage that rises from knowing who walks with you. For too long, you have held back, questioning your worth, silencing your own voice, fearing that your presence might not be enough. But heaven is calling you to step into the authority you already carry. The apostle reminds us in his letter to Timothy, 2nd book, chapter 1, verse 7. For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. These words were not written as suggestion, but as identity. Fear is not your inheritance. Courage is. Power is. Love is. Clarity is. Consider the prophet Jeremiah. When God called him, he trembled and said, "I am only a child. I do not know how to speak." But God's reply was clear. Do not say, "I am only a child." You must go to everyone I send you to and say whatever I command you. The calling of Jeremiah was not anchored in his confidence, but in God's commissioning. That same mantle is now being placed upon you. Think of a lion walking into the open field. It does not roar to prove its strength. Its presence alone shifts the atmosphere because creation recognizes the authority it carries. You are like that. You do not need to prove yourself to rooms that overlooked you, nor beg for recognition from those who doubted you. Your authority is not given by men, but by the one who has marked you. I remember the story of a woman who lived timidly for years. She had words of life inside her, but silenced them, fearing they would not matter. Then one day, after much struggle, she chose to speak out. She began to share what God had placed in her heart, and her voice carried power she did not know she had. Those who heard her were transformed. Her boldness was not loudness, it was obedience. Chosen one. Boldness is not about volume, but about obedience. It is not about speaking more, but about speaking when God says. Now, it is not about stepping into every place, but stepping into the place He directs you. Holy boldness is fire, and restraint held together by obedience. Imagine a torch being carried through the dark. Its flame does not argue with the night, it simply shines. Darkness has no choice but to retreat. This is the boldness you are called to walk in, not striving, not shouting, but shining. Your mantle of boldness will disrupt atmospheres. It will confront lies. It will comfort the broken. It will challenge systems of darkness that have stood unshaken for years. And yes, it will make some uncomfortable. But remember this: light always unsettles what prefers shadows. There is also a weight to this mantle. With boldness comes responsibility. This is why your preparation season was so long. God was not only sharpening your courage, He was purifying your motives. Boldness without purity can wound, but boldness anchored in God's Spirit becomes a healing flame. Think of Moses before Pharaoh. He was not eloquent, yet his boldness shattered chains. Think of Esther before the king. She risked her life, yet her boldness saved a nation. Think of Peter on the day of Pentecost. Once fearful, he stood before thousands and declared truth that birthed the church. Every chosen one carries a moment where boldness is the bridge between destiny delayed and destiny fulfilled. Chosen one, your moment is approaching. You may not feel ready. You may tremble as Jeremiah's did. But remember, the mantle is not about your confidence. It is about God's commission. And when He clothes you with boldness, no fear can strip it away. So, walk with courage. Speak when He tells you to speak. Stand when He tells you to stand. Move when He tells you to move. The mantle of boldness rests upon your shoulders, and through it, you will set captives free, break chains of silence, and awaken hope where despair once ruled. Your mantle of boldness will not feel heavy like a burden, but steady like armor. It will wrap around you as protection, reminding you that you are not walking alone. Every time you hesitate, remember that boldness is not the absence of fear, it is the decision to move forward in spite of fear. Your courage is obedience clothed in faith. And as you step forward, the ripple will spread. Others who were silent will find their voice because you found yours. The timid will rise. The weary will be stirred. And the broken will believe again, all because you carried the mantle well. Chosen one. You were never designed to walk this path alone. Though your calling is unique, your journey is not meant to be isolated. Heaven has always known that the weight of your assignment requires others, helpers, intercessors, and companions divinely aligned to walk beside you. God is sending connections that will strengthen your hands and steady your heart. The Word of God declares in the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 4, verse 9-10, 2 are better than 1, because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. But pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. These words echo like a promise over your life. You are not meant to fall without help. You are not meant to rise without company. Think of Moses, standing on the hill as Israel fought below. His hands grew weary holding the staff. Yet as long as they were raised, the people prevailed. When his strength failed, Aaron and Hur stood on each side, lifting his arms until the battle was won. The victory was not his alone, it was shared. Without his helpers, the staff would have fallen. Without their presence, the people would have lost. So it will be with you. The Lord is bringing people to your side who will not only celebrate your victories, but also sustain you in battle. True companions are not those who applaud when you shine, but those who lift you when you are weary. You may have known seasons where you felt abandoned. Trusted friends walked away. Those you counted on were not there when the battle raged. But do not let past disappointments harden your heart. What left was not meant to carry the weight of your assignment. What comes now will be different, pure, divine, and unshakable. Imagine a great tree in a forest. Its roots stretch deep, but not alone. They intertwine with the roots of other trees, unseen beneath the soil. When storms come, the strength of one tree is reinforced by the network of many. That is how God builds his chosen ones, not as solitary towers, but as rooted communities, hidden connections beneath the surface. I recall the story of a man called into ministry. At first, he tried to do everything alone. He burned with passion, but exhaustion followed him like a shadow. One day, a mentor told him, "You are not failing. You are simply carrying too much by yourself." In time, he learned to lean on others, to delegate, to trust the companions God sent. His ministry grew, not because he worked harder, but because he stopped walking alone. Chosen one. Humility is often the doorway to these divine connections. It takes humility to admit you cannot carry everything. It takes humility to allow others to lift your arms when they grow heavy. But in that humility is hidden strength. For what you share becomes multiplied, and what you carry becomes lighter. There is also a holy mystery in divine helpers. Sometimes they do not look like what you expect. Ruth was a Moabite widow, yet her loyalty became the bridge to Naomi's redemption. Jonathan was a king's son, yet his covenant with David preserved David's life. Helpers are not always the loudest voices or the most obvious choices. They are often those hidden by God until the exact moment you need them most. Chosen one. Prepare your heart for divine connections. Some will walk with you for a season, others for a lifetime. Some will sharpen your vision, Others will shield you in prayer. Some will challenge you. Others will comfort you. All of them will be part of the weaving of your story. You are not alone. Even when it feels like isolation surrounds you, the unseen is true. Heaven is aligning people to your path. They will carry water to you in dry seasons. They will stand as shields when darts fly. They will remind you of your crown when the weight of the cross feels too much. So do not despise the waiting. Do not fear the silence. The right voices are being prepared. The right hands are being positioned. The right companions are on their way. Chosen one. What God has called you to is greater than what you can carry alone. But you will not have to. The Aaron to your Moses. The Jonathan to your David. The Ruth to your Naomi. They are being sent. And together, you will rise. They will not just walk with you, they will anchor you. Heaven never designed you to fight alone. With divine helpers by your side, your journey will be steadier. Your victory certain. Chosen one. Pause for a moment. The words you have been receiving are not echoes. They are living water flowing into the desert of your soul. Every sentence has been a reminder that you are chosen, not abandoned, planted with purpose. But what matters now is not only what you hear, but how you let it live inside you. The Apostle reminds us in his first letter to the Corinthians, chapter 15, verse 58. Therefore, my dear brothers, stand firm. Let nothing move you. Always give yourselves fully to the work of the Lord. Your labor is not in vain. These words are like a seal. Every effort, every step of faith, every tear that watered the soil of your calling, it was not wasted. Think of a seed hidden in the earth. From the outside, nothing looks alive. Dirt covers it. Rain beats down. Silence surrounds it. Yet deep beneath the soil, life stirs. Roots stretch. Unseen. As heaven whispers, wait. Your time will come. That seed is you. The word planted in your heart has been hidden, watered, pressed, and now it is breaking through the surface. But hear this, you are not just a seed planted, you are also a seed planter. The same way these words have watered you, they can water others. The testimony you carry, the truth you have received, is not meant to be locked inside. It is meant to multiply. And this is where I speak gently, with open hands. When you subscribe, when you like, when you share, it is like taking the seed that fell into your soil and planting it into another. Every click becomes a hand scattering grain across fields you may never see. One seed in your hand can become a harvest in someone else's desert. Think of a candle, alone. It lights one small corner of a dark room. But if it passes its flame to another, the glow doubles. Pass it again, and again, and soon the whole room is radiant. Your act of sharing, your simple yes to spreading the flame, is how light multiplies. It is not pressure, it is invitation. And if your heart feels stirred to go further, consider this. Your giving is not a transaction, it is rain. Every gift, no matter how small, is like a drop falling into dry ground. Alone, a drop seems tiny. Together, those drops become streams, and streams become rivers that refresh weary lands. When you donate, you are not fueling a machine, you are watering lives. Hear me carefully. This is not about demand. Love never forces. It only invites. You are free. Whether you give or not, you are still seen. Whether you press a button or not, you are still loved. But if you choose to, if you sense the Spirit nudging you, then know that your seed, your flame, your drop of rain will go places your feet may never reach. Subscribe because you want to stay near the flow of this living water. Like because your spirit resonates with truth. Share because someone you don't even know is standing in their midnight, waiting for a spark. Give if you feel led, because rain always finds the thirsty. And one more thing, if this word has taken root in your heart, leave a comment below. Not just words, but a marker. Write something simple, like carving faith into stone. That line will stand as a reminder to your future self. This was the moment I chose to bloom. Comments are not noise, they are seeds planted in faith. Chosen one. Imagine the beauty of this, a field where seeds planted by thousands bloom together, a city lit by countless flames, a land once dry, now flowing with rivers. That is what happens when chosen ones unite, not by force, not by demand, but by free and joyful agreement. So let this moment be your seal. The words you have received were never meant to stay with you alone. They were meant to flow through you, to ripple outward, to multiply until darkness has no place left to hide. Stand firm. As the scripture says, let nothing move you. Give yourself fully, not reluctantly, but joyfully, because you know none of it is in vain. Not your pain, not your endurance, not your faith, not even your smallest act of obedience. Everything you sow in God's hands becomes eternal. Chosen one. Your journey is not only about endurance, but about multiplication. What you carry is not small. What you release will echo into generations. And when you look back, you will see that the crown was never just for you. It was for everyone who found light through your flame. Chosen one. Everything you have endured has been shaping a strength within you that cannot be shaken. The winds of life may have bent you, but they have not broken you. Storms may have raged, but they could not uproot what God planted. You are rising now as one who is unshakable. The psalmist declares in the book of Psalms, chapter 1, verses 2-3, whose delight is in the law of the Lord, who meditates day and night. That person is like a tree, planted by streams of water. These words describe you perfectly. You have been planted in places where others expected you to dry up, yet you remained. You have stood when others thought you would collapse. Think of a mountain. For centuries, storms beat against it. Winds howl. Rains fall. Yet it remains unmoved. It is not fragile because its foundation is deep within the earth. That is the image of your life right now. You may have felt the force of battles, but beneath the surface, your roots have been anchored in God's strength. There is a story of a young man who lived through years of constant shaking loss, disappointment, betrayal. People wondered how he could still smile, how he could still stand, when others in the same position had fallen apart. He once answered, "I have been broken, yes, but never uprooted." What carried him was not his own strength, but the foundation beneath him. His story is your story too. Chosen one. The truth is this: unshakable does not mean untouched. It does not mean you never cry, never doubt, never struggle. It means that through the struggle, Your foundation holds. It means the winds may howl, but they cannot uproot what God Himself planted. It means the earthquakes may shake your surroundings, but your spirit remains secure. Imagine a potter's vessel hardened in fire. At first, it is soft, easily shaped, easily cracked, but once it passes through the fire, it emerges stronger, able to withstand pressure it never could before. The fire in your life has done the same. What once would have broken you has become proof of your resilience. Even the enemy has learned this truth about you. He has thrown storms at you, hoping to break your spirit. But each storm only revealed that you are more deeply anchored than he thought. What was meant to destroy has only displayed your endurance. Chosen one. You are rising now as a testimony. Others will look at you and say, "How are they still standing?" They will not know the full battles you've faced, but they will see the fruit of your perseverance, and that fruit will become nourishment for those who are weak, courage for those who are afraid, and light for those still stumbling in darkness. Do you remember Daniel in the lion's den? The decree was set. The lions were hungry, and yet he emerged, untouched. His faith did not stop the trial, but it stopped the trial from consuming him. That is the essence of being unshakable. You may walk into dens, but you walk out with victory. Or think of Paul and Silas in prison. Their chains were real, their wounds deep, but they chose to sing in the midnight hour. The ground shook, not to break them, but to break their chains. That same kind of shaking is coming to you. The shaking around you will not be your undoing, it will be your unlocking. Chosen one. Your foundation is Christ Himself. He is the cornerstone that cannot crack, the rock that cannot crumble, the fortress that cannot fall. This is why you can stand in storms others collapse under. This is why your future is secure, no matter what the present looks like. So hold your ground. Do not let fear move you. Do not let leaves uproot you. You are like the tree planted by streams of living water. Your fruit will come in its season. Your leaves will not wither, and your roots will remain even when the ground shakes. You are not fragile clay anymore. You are fire-tested, spirit-breathed, deeply anchored, eternally chosen. You are unshakable. Your scars are not signs of weakness. They are proof that the storm failed. Every mark on your soul is a reminder that you stood, even when everything tried to knock you down. Chosen one. Let this truth settle deeply. Storms may come again, but they will only reveal once more that you are rooted, anchored, and unshakable. Chosen one. Every journey has a threshold, the moment when all that has been endured, all that has been prepared, finally comes together. You are standing at such a threshold now. It is not an end, but a crossing. It is not a closing, but an unveiling. Everything behind you has been training. Everything before you is fulfillment. The prophet Isaiah declared in the book of Isaiah, chapter 60, verse 1, "Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you." This is not a suggestion, it is a command. Arise, shine, step forward into the light that has always been yours. The darkness cannot silence it. The years cannot erase it, and the enemy cannot steal it. For too long, you have been walking through valleys, carrying shadows that whispered you would not make it. But look around. The valley is not your home. It was only your passage. The mountain ahead is where you are being called to stand. Imagine a dawn breaking after the longest night. The sky is still grey, the air still heavy with cold, but a faint glow stretches across the horizon. Slowly, it brightens, spilling color across the heavens. That is your life right now. The night is ending, the light is rising, and nothing can stop the dawn from breaking. There is a story of a man who carried vision in his heart for years. Doors shut against him. People doubted him, and seasons passed without fruit. Yet he did not stop. One day, without warning, the door opened, and everything he had been waiting for began to align. It was not random. It was the fulfillment of years of unseen preparation. The harvest does not arrive overnight, but when it comes suddenly. Chosen one, you are closer than you realize. The breaking you endured was not in vain. The silence you sat in was not wasted. The pruning you felt was not punishment, it was positioning. You are stepping into the moment when seeds sown in tears will be reaped in joy. Think of a runner on the final stretch of the race. Every muscle aches, every breath burns. Yet the finish line comes into view. Strength rises where exhaustion lived. Why? Because the end is near, and the prize is worth it. That is where you are now, running the last stretch before breakthrough. The glory over your life will not only be seen in victories, but also in the endurance you carried. People will see your fruit, yes, but they will also see your faithfulness. They will know that the shine on your face was born not from an easy path, but from a tested soul. And here is the deeper truth. Your rising is not only for you, it is for others who need to see that dawn is possible. Your shine will awaken those who think their night will never end. Your story will become their courage. Your light will be the spark that leads them out of shadows. Chosen one, the journey is not finished, but the chapter you are stepping into is brighter, fuller, and heavier with glory than the ones before. You will look back and see that nothing was wasted, that every tear watered the soil of destiny, and every storm carved resilience into your bones. So step forward, lift your head, walk into the threshold with confidence. The glory of the Lord is rising upon you, and no force of darkness can dim it. This is your moment to arise. This is your season to shine, and the best is still ahead. The crossing you face is not fragile, it is firm. You may have feared that stepping forward would lead you to stumble, but the ground beneath you has been prepared by heaven itself. Every delay was the laying of stone. Every trial, the pouring of foundation. What felt like waiting was actually construction. Ensuring the threshold you now stand on is unshakable. You are not stepping into uncertainty, you are stepping into design. And though you walk forward, you are not leaving behind the lessons of the valley. Those lessons have become your tools. They will sharpen your voice, steady your hands, and remind you that your strength was never yours alone, but His. Chosen one, the dawn rising before you will not fade like passing light. It will grow brighter with each step you take. You are not walking toward temporary hope, but toward eternal purpose. The threshold is not the end, it is the doorway into the fullness of what you were always meant to carry. Chosen one, you have walked with me through every valley and every mountain in this message. You have stood at the edge of silence, faced the weight of storms, and carried the cross that prepared you for a crown. Now, you stand with light on your shoulders and destiny before your eyes. What matters is not only that you've heard these words, but what you will do with them. The journey never ends here. It continues in the small choices of tomorrow, in the way you stand firm when doubt whispers, in the way you extend hope when someone else feels lost, in the way you dare to shine when darkness presses close. This word was given to you, but through you, it can live again in others. If it has stirred something inside you, mark this moment. Write in the comments not as chatter, but as a signpost of faith. Every comment is like a stone placed on the path, reminding you later, this was the day I stepped forward. Words written today become memorials tomorrow. If your heart desires to stay near this flow, subscribe. Think of it as choosing to keep walking beside the stream where the water never runs dry. If your heart smiled even once while listening, press like. It is like planting a flower in this garden of faith, small, simple, but together they create a field that never stops blooming. If these words carried light into your night, share them. It is like passing a torch to someone still stumbling in the dark. You may not know whose hands it will reach, but the flame will travel. And if you feel called to go deeper, to sow into this work, know that your giving is not a duty, it is rainfall. Every drop matters. A single drop, refresh. But when many join, rivers flow. Your generosity becomes rivers that reach souls you may never meet. Chosen one, the journey ahead is radiant. Carry what you have received. Scatter seeds where you go. And never forget, you are chosen. You are shining. And the story is only beginning.